Well guys, today we're working on a 2005 Dodge Ram 1500 two-wheel drive SLT 5.7 Hemi. We are replacing the universal joints on the dry shaft. My customer was complaining about vibration in the undercarriage, so I'm going to take the opportunity to walk you guys through this step by step. I've taken the time to go ahead and jack the vehicle up, put it on jack stands. I'm working at it inside of a garage. I don't have a lift, which would be a lot more convenient, but we work with what we have. For this job, you're going to need a creeper, a 15mm wrench, or 15mm socket with a swivel, an extension, and a ratchet, and needle nose pliers, a dead blow hammer, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go into the vehicle now and give you guys a few tips. Obviously, since the rear end will be off the air, you have to put some safety devices on the front tires so the vehicle doesn't roll. Make sure that you use a flat level surface so the vehicle's not inclined when you do lift it up in the air. And that's pretty much it. And we're gonna go under the vehicle right now, and this right here is the dry shaft. These are the universal joints. These have 196,000 miles on them, so there's a good chance that they are the reasons that there's so much vibration under the undercarriage. The whole front suspension on this vehicle has been inspected and it is in good shape. And the dry shaft goes connected all the way to the differential. I've already taken the opportunity to loosen up the screws, as you can see there, to speed up the process. I've left this screw here, so when you start releasing this last one, the dry shaft doesn't shift on you, and it keeps it pretty much aligned as you loosen these screws. Then once you get this loosened, and gentlemen, prepare yourself, because most of these screws come with thread lock on them and they're pretty tight. An impact gun might get them loose for you, sometimes it won't, depending on the type of impact gun you have. So that's pretty much it. Now I know that you guys noticed that there's 4 screws here, there's 2 there, and there's 2 there. Now when you take off these 2 screws, it's kind of difficult to work on the other side. So what I've done is that instead of going in and out of the vehicle and putting it in neutral, I come down here to the transmission, I remove this lever carefully, and then I click this 1, 2 times. That tells me that it's in neutral right there. So I go back down here and I can grab the dry shaft with my hands like this, and I can turn it, and the differential turns, and I can get the screws to turn from one side to the other. That way it gives me access to those screws. But in order for you to loosen them, you have to come back to the transmission. You've got to grab that lever, click it twice towards you, put it back in parking so the dry shaft doesn't turn, and you can go back here and it's locked in position, as you can see. Then you can take your time and loosen the screws and take the dry shaft off. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the dry shaft now. I'm going to put the camera down because I'm here by myself, and I'll turn the camera back on when it's time to install the U-joints on the actual device. Also, just for notation, on the other side of this dry shaft, let me go ahead and turn it so I can show you guys what I've done. 2 is that since this dry shaft, I'm taking it off. It's not necessary for you to do this, but I like to do it just to keep me aware as to what's going on. Before I took this off, I put some red paint here and here just to be able to line up. Hey GoPro, stop recording. How you doing, guys? We're back Doing a service today. I had a customer complaining about vibration under his truck, so today we're going to be working on his vehicle. It's a 2005 Dodge Ram XLT 1500 quad cab with a 5.7 Hemi. It has a vibration under the undercarriage that has all been leading to worn out U-joints, universal joints. I've taken the time to go ahead and jack the vehicle up on jack stands, as you can see there. Hey guys, how you doing? Today we're working on a 2005 Dodge Ram 1500 5.7 V8 Hemi SLT quad cab pickup truck. Customers been complaining about vibration coming from the rear of the vehicle around 70 to 75 miles an hour. The differential was inspected, the axles were inspected, the tires were inspected, the rims were inspected, shocks, and everything seems to be okay with that. Further inspection revealed that there is play in the dry shaft, and that is due to the universal joints being worn out. So today I'm going to walk you guys through this install so you can do it yourself at home and you don't have to hire a mechanic and spend an outrageous amount of money. So far what I've done is that I've jacked up the vehicle on 2 jack stands, as you can see there. I've put extra safety. I put a jack on the center pumpkin of the differential just for safety reasons. It's not specifically lifting the vehicle there, it's just there for extra safety. I went ahead and also blocked the front tires of the vehicle. I recommend that you use a flat garage floor surface where it has no incline. That way the vehicle does not roll off on you. Make sure that you secure the tires and that the vehicle doesn't roll back and forth. Usually when you put it on jack stands, it doesn't move around a lot, which is good, but still take that extra step to be safe if you're going to be doing this at home. Most of us that have experience have had situations where we're working on a vehicle and it's on an incline, and when you go to jack it up, it tends to roll forward. So be careful and keep that in mind when you're working on the car. So far the only tools that I've used is a 15mm wrench or a ratchet with a 15mm socket, a swivel, a 3-inch 3/8 drive extension with a 3/8 drive ratchet. The screws, their location is a real tight spot. There's really not a lot of place or space to work there because of the fact that they are surrounded by the rest of the universal joint and dry shaft components that do not permit you access like you would like normally in repairs like this. But being so that that's the issue, I've just used a 15mm wrench today, and I'm going to take you guys under the vehicle and I'm going to show you a few tricks that if you are working by yourself, so you don't have to go up and down the vehicle and put it in neutral, and then turn the differential so you can get the dry shaft to turn so you can access the bolts. It's held together by 4 bolts with thread lock. They're pretty tight, so prepare yourself, get comfortable, brace yourself on the floor. I'm using a creeper. It made it a little bit more difficult because I kept on moving around, so I came off the creeper and just stationaried myself on the floor and was able to get a good grip on the bolts and get them loose. I've already started the job, but I'm going to go now under the vehicle and I'm going to walk you guys through what I've done by myself. All right, we're going to go under the vehicle, and right there, that's the dry shaft. This is the differential. This dry shaft goes all the way to the front where the transmission is, and it connects right there to the rear of the transmission. And as you can see, I've already removed this bolt here and that bolt back there. I've got this bolt and this bolt that I've loosened, and I just have them there for demonstration purposes only. Right here is your U-joint. These are the connections. They're held together by snap rings, that you're going to probably need snap ring pliers to have them removed, or a screwdriver, or a tool of your choice. Since this dry shaft, as you can see, is stationary and locked in its position, that means that the vehicle is in park. Now, in order to be able to access two bolts that are at the top of this dry shaft connection, I've got to be able to turn this. Normally you would have to get out of the vehicle, get from under the vehicle, go to the top if you're by yourself, and put the car in neutral so you can come down here, turn this dry shaft or the wheels to where the bolts turn, and you have the two top bolts facing the bottom. Well, there's a trick to that. If you come to the rear of the transmission of the vehicle, and you come right here, the linkage that goes connected to it, like that, you can simply grab it, pull it, disconnect it, and right now the vehicle is in park. So what I do is I grab this lever and I click it twice. 1, 2. That means that it's in neutral. At this time, I can grab the dry shaft or the tires from under the vehicle like this, and I can simply turn it. And as it turns, the bolts from the top become accessible, as you can see there. And I was able to do that by myself without having to come out from under the vehicle. Now, in order for you to get those bolts loose, you have to put the vehicle back in the parking position. So you go back to the transmission, you connect, you push the lever back into the park position. You don't have to connect the lever yet because you're going to be working there for a little while. And you come back to the bottom of to the rear of the vehicle, and you start loosening those bolts. Once you remove those bolts, as you can see, the dry shaft is already loose. There's nothing holding it in place other than those two screws that I've placed in their positions, or left in those two positions, so you can have some type of support while you're loosening all the bolts. I recommend that you leave one bolt in while you're loosening the last bolt, so the whole dry shaft doesn't shift on you. Then once you've gotten those bolts loose, you simply just drop this end of the dry shaft and you pull it out from the rear of the transmission. Now, I'm not sure if I have enough angle to where when I pull this dry shaft out, if any transmission fluid is going to come out of the rear of this transmission, and it will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pan down here to catch any fluid that may come out of the rear of the transmission. But I've got the vehicle pretty jacked up to where some fluid may not come out. But if it does, at least I've got something to catch it with, and I don't make a mess on the floor. But shortly, I'm going to get this dry shaft off. I'm going to go ahead and set up this camera at an angle to see, so you guys can see what I'm doing, and we'll go from there. See what happens when you remove the screw from the top? That assists, this screw, all it does is assist you. You really can't pull it out until you've had the opportunity to really loosen this bolt. Now once you've gotten this bolt loose and the other one is hand tight, you can get this one loose. mark this so I know that this is the bottom. It's just a reference point so I can put it back the way that it was. That's it. As you can see, that's the dry shaft. We're gonna go ahead and get out from under the vehicle. And we're gonna grab this dry shaft carefully, pull it out of here, and we're gonna remove these universal joints. And that's the dry shaft. So we're gonna go from there. Let me get my tools together and I'll be back. Hey GoPro, stop recording.
From Wikipedia, the recorder is a family of woodwind musical instruments in the group known as
Alright guys, we're back here with the universal joints for this Dodge Ram. I've taken the opportunity to pull off the front universal joint. Now, I recommend that when you're removing this, that you use a press and that you don't hammer it so you don't damage the dry shaft or bend it or take it out of balance. And you can't do that if you hammer by accident and you hit this portion of the dry shaft. You don't want to damage this. You don't want to bend this that in or out so the dry shaft stays in good shape. If you use a press, these relatively come out very easy. Obviously, when you take out the old part, like this one, you want to compare it to the new part, and you want to measure the diameters of these ends of the universal joint, which they should be an exact fit. They should be the exact height. And as far as size is concerned, is exactly the same. This part that was purchased for this is a aftermarket Moog universal joint, and it is part number 270. You can get this at your local AutoZone store for 26 bucks. I bought both of them, the front and the rear. So far, the front universal joint is the same size. There is no specific direction that this universal joint has to go. There is no front and there is no back. It does have here this portion of the universal joint. Usually they come with an adapter screw like I have here, so you can bleed it. This is the new hardware that comes with it. Not bleed it, but grease it. But I don't know what this part is for. It is an extra part that's in there, and I don't see anywhere where it screws on, so unless it goes here on the end. Yep, it goes right here on this end, and this is just so I can service this device when I install it later on, and if I want a connection there to grease the component, I can. Obviously, the only thing that you need would be a pair of pliers or snap ring pliers to remove these clips that are here. I will be making another demonstration video when I remove the rear universal joint from the dry shaft and showing you guys the details of how I do that.